Hello, welcome to this video. At the moment, I've got a working title for this video, which is the best uses of a song in a film. That's not too bad, actually. I might go with that, unless I can bring it down a little bit, a bit littler and punchier. It's hard to explain which this one is, but you know that type of thing. You sat watching the film, and it's a great film, or it's a rubbish film, you don't know what. And then suddenly a song comes in, and it often will be a song that you like, or a song that is from your sort of world of music, or from your past. And then suddenly the song drops into the film, and it comes out of the speakers. If you're in the cinema, it's like, oh my God, I can hear my favourite song coming out. And then if the filmmaker can utilise that song in a way that's compelling, especially if it adds to the storyline, it's quite a moment for a film fan and a music fan. So I started to think, what are the 10 greatest uses of a song in a film? But you've got to have a caveat, haven't you? You've got to have some guidelines. So obviously, no musicals, no songs that were written for films. You can't have that. That's not going to happen, right? Secondly, it really can't be used in the titles, and it's just there because you like it. It's got to accompany a scene. I bent that rule a little bit, but you'll see when we get there. So it's got to be part of the film and almost part of the storyline. And when it is part of the storyline, you get extra points, okay? The choice of song has to be good. Of course, you know, MC Hammer's You Can't Touch This has probably appeared in hundreds of films over the years, made him a lot of money, or made the Rick James estate a lot of money, and it's been very funny when it's been used in various comedies throughout the years. But I ain't going to be picking any of that. I want songs that come from vaguely rock music, prog perhaps. You know, I want it to come from the worlds that we talk about here. And it's always a surprise when one of those bands crops up, isn't it? So I've got 10 here, and I've ranked them 10 to 1. I think this is one of the best lists I've ever done. I'm really pleased with it. It just came like that, you know, and I had a lot of luck where I was trying to think of tracks, and then someone would appear, you know, in my Facebook thing, you know, maybe now that's been able to even know what I'm thinking in terms of top 10s, you know. Our thoughts are all homogenizing, aren't they, through the digital realm? But let's not talk about that. Let's talk about this. So, I'm going to kick straight in with the 10 greatest uses of a song in a film, ranked 10 to 1. And at number 10, we have, in the film I Love You Man from 2009, the use of, now which one is it going to be? Because I Love You Man is a film. It's what they call a bromance. A bromance. This is like one of those buddy, you know, films. It's a bit comedic. It's actually very funny. It's about this bloke, he's got no male friends, and you know, he meets this girl and he asks her to marry him, and then he realises he has to get a male friend. I don't understand why he does. So he goes to his gay brother and he sets him up with this bloke, and they bond over the only true thing a man can bond over that's not a sport. The only true thing that you can bond over between two men is Rush. The zone that forbids the feminine. This is the realm of the man, right? But you don't have to be some alpha male Jason Momoa type to like Rush, but I bet you he does. No, any man is welcome to the manly world of Rush fandom. And this film delves into that all the way through. So there's actually 3 uses of a Rush song and 2 songs used. In this film, they have a little band. When he gets this sort of friendship with this bloke, they form a band, and they do a version of Limelight. That's quite comedic. There's a scene where he plays Limelight to his girlfriend, and he mimes the bass to it. And that's quite comedic, especially as he's playing her Limelight over the laptop speakers, which makes it sound tinny and small. And niggled me. I'm sat there going, this girl's not going to like it if you play it through those little speakers. Then I realised she's not going to like it anyway. But at a certain point in the film, believe it or not, they go to a Rush concert, an actual Rush concert with actual Rush, and they play actual Limelight. And the two blokes are there, and he's brought his girlfriend. And if you look into the audience, this is the only downfall of this scene. If you look into the audience, there is a smattering of other women in that audience, you know. I think representation and diversity actually push, you know, the film company to sort of go, we've got to have a few more ladies. Oh, no, you don't understand. You know, any more than 7 in the whole gig, and we really are going into the realms of fiction here. But anyway, and so what happens, he's got his girlfriend there, but as he and his mate start to sing every lyric word for word and mirror every single Neil Peart fill, you know, hit for hit, and everything is nailed, and you can see this sort of almost like homoerotic bonding between these two men, and the girlfriend is like quite troubled by it. It's a brilliant scene, and to actually have Rush in there, who apparently they had a bit of trepidation about doing this because they were a bit worried that they were going to take the mick, but at least they don't take the mickey out of Rush. And I think the two blokes who've done it have then built a relationship with Rush, and they've appeared in various videos since then, and then I think there's a video on the internet where they go and meet Rush.
I saw 4 in the mezzanine.
Yeah, I had 3 in the front row. 7 females at a Rush concert. Must be some kind of a world's record. Whoa!
Hey, who are you guys?
This is that film that exposes a huge reality of, you know, modern culture, which is Rush, and how us blokes love Rush. And the mainstream wants to cover it up, but you can't fight it anymore. You can't fight it. And they're coming back this summer. I don't care what you say. I'm excited. And I just want to say here, I've noticed everyone was really chuffed when Rush were coming back. And because they've been like bigging it up and saying this is going to be great, we're coming back on tour, which is their right to do because it's true, it's a big deal. People, Neil Peart fans have been going, oh no, they shouldn't be saying that. Oh, and they'd be starting to get annoyed. Well, if anyone does it on my watch, I'm not going to be happy. I wish you would. Because if I could get a few stupid comments of stupid Rush fans about, you know, they'll never be better with Anika in, and it's disrespectful to his memory, and it's not proper Rush, and there's the 3 of them there. If anyone wants to put that in the comments, put it in there. Go on, because I'll just get another video out of it. All I need is someone to light the spark of fury, and I will be off. It hasn't even really happened yet on my channel because you lot are very sensible and can weigh up the facts and work out what's right and what's not right. But if I can just have a few idiots on here, if you could just put those in the comments, that will then spur me on. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. It will be the best Rush video I've ever done. And I've done all the best Rush videos on bloody YouTube. Done everything. Played YYZ on my own with musicians. I've done all comedy skits on them, everything. All right? They better notice me. And also, I have to say this, Geddy and Alex, if you watch this video and you're having a chuckle along to what I'm saying, put something in the comments because I love you so much.
Hey, who are you?
And if you just put something in the comments, I feel so proud. Right, shall we move on? From a band I absolutely love to an artist I bloody loathe. This is rare when an artist I don't like will get into my top 10s because I like what they've done. Now, the artist in question is Lou Reed. Now, I have said many a time that I believe Lou Reed to be a very, very good, a very strong songwriter. He combines a sort of Tin Pan Alley ear for songwriting with a sort of depraved, sort of drug, you know, addicted, weird, under the bloody stones of society type of view of the world, right? Now, in his heroin days at some point, he thought, oh, I want to do this. I feel so lovely and cozy, you know. I've never had heroin, you see, so I don't know what it's like. But people who have had it have told me that it is actually very Moorish. You have a bit, you just want to have a bit more. And then when you have it, you feel all lovely and toasty. So I imagined it for me, it would be probably like Sunday morning, don't need to get up. You got, say, the Dam Busters on TV, black and white. You go downstairs, you get some crumpets, right? Butter, a bit of Marmite, nice cup of tea, Earl Grey. Go back up to bed, sit down with a supply of crumpets and and tea and dambusters, and there you are in absolute cozy heaven. The covers wrap around you. You feel like you're in a warm glow floating away. Nothing matters in the world. You're in that. That's heroin for an English gentleman. That is what I just told you there. We don't need to go, injecting stuff in our arm, like some beatnik chap. We don't need it. We can do it with just a simple object like a cup of tea and all this type of thing, I just described it. And that's what we like here in England. That's how we won the war. Right? So, what am I talking about? Oh yeah, so Lou Reed, in some heroin days, he decided to go, I'm going to write a song about how nice this is. And he wrote the song Perfect Day. It's such a perfect day. I want to spend it with you. So he sounds like a love song, but it's not. He wants to spend it with the big H, doesn't he? And I ain't on about that bloke out of Steps or Marillion. Right, so, so then in the 1990s, a classic film was made. Danny Boyle's first film, and that was his second film. Shallow Grave was his first film, wasn't it? Trainspotting. Great film. A great film. The use of music, absolutely brilliant. And that's about these Scottish drug addicts in Edinburgh, And there's all those classic scenes in there, him coming out the toilet. And there's a very, very classic scene where he has some heroin and he lies back on this carpet. And the carpet envelops him like a grave and he sinks down to the tune of Perfect Day. And I think this is a great example of taking a song, and the song is about this, the film's about this, and then you put them together and you get more. You get more. It adds to it. It adds to it. So, I've spoken enough nice stuff about Lou Reed. I've said quite a lot of nice stuff. What about when I said about that Metallica album, Lulu? I like it. I think it's one of my favourite Metallica albums. I know a lot of people disagree with me, but, that's that. So, number 8. Right, now, I want to bring in something that's a little bit more intellectual here. I am really pulling from the era of rock music. I'm not going back, I thought, shall I put a couple of Louis Armstrong songs? They've been used. It starts to be a little bit like a musical. Because the fact is, even when they brought a song into anything before 1950, it's not till we get to Blackboard Jungle and the use of, Rock Around the Clock, and then we get Elvis's films, Girl Can't Help It. Then we get the Beatles films, and there's a history of this. But for me, I'm talking about rock songs that reside on a classic album, and then they appear in a film. Now, the Beatles do a lot to do this, but of course they don't count because their films are almost like musicals, or they're using their own songs. It doesn't count. It has to be someone else's song brought in and plonked into a film. Now, the one I haven't put on here is Born to Be Wild by Steppenwolf, which was made in 1967 and was used in the film Easy Rider, made by Peter Fonda in 1969. That's a classic use. This is one of the earliest uses of a proper rock song in a film, and it's advancing the storyline. It acts as a part of the thing. I mean, if you think of Easy Rider, there's only one good bit in the whole film because it's a bit of a crap film, and the only good bit is them riding along on the Harley Davidsons playing bloody Steppenwolf. That's the only good bit, as far as I'm concerned. But no, this isn't the first time. This is a really interesting one. Now, Simon and Garfunkel. Very important band, I think, in the history of rock music. And in 1965, they wrote a song called The Sound of Silence. Now, this was one of their sort of folky things. And the record company took it and they stuck electric guitars and drums on it. Now, the record company did this because Dylan had just done this and had so much success doing the same thing. But in 1965, when they dropped those drums on Sound of Silence, I believe there is a sound there that almost heralds the rock era. Now, it would be great to pick like a Rolling Stone and say, well, that was used in the film, but just a few years later in the film with A Graduate, that piece of music is played over the title sequence. Now, normally I wouldn't use a song on a title sequence or end credits, but this is integral to the film. Now, I'm going to go back to me in my very early 20s, can't sleep. I'm stopping at someone's house. Can't sleep. Wake up in the middle of the night. Put the TV on, and The Graduate is just started up. Mike Nichols' classic film, which really documents the very specific generation gap that was going on in the 60s, that this music was going to represent. And we see Dustin Hoffman on an aeroplane. He's sat there. he seems to be nonplussed. That's the best way to describe it. He's just staring. He's on a plane full of people. The person in the airplane says very ominously, "We are descending down into Los Angeles." And the next shot, we see him stood there, and he's obviously on some sort of moving floor, as you have in an airport. He's just stood there, and he's gliding along. The camera's following him, and we see the wall coming past, and we hear sound of silence. For me, this heralds, in filmic terms, this heralds this era that we discuss here on this channel. And I can remember the feeling of watching this stuck in the middle of the night, I think in my early 20s, wondering what the hell I was going to do in my life. And so it was still resonant for me, you know, in the 1980s. Incredible use of a song, and one of the earliest ones based upon the sort of criteria I'm using here. Right, so another album that I have knocked and said I don't like, and I think it's a bit boring, is Layla by Derek and the Dominos. You know, Eric Clapton is a god. He invents electric guitar playing. He's a god. He invents so much. He goes into Cream, does all this incredible stuff. Amazing, amazing, amazing. John Mayall's Blues Breakers, amazing. He's a bloody genius. And then something happens, heroin and alcohol, and he changes. Now, people love Layla, but for me, it's just, there's a move to sort of tepid Americana that seems to undo so many musicians in the early 70s. And for me, that's that. But the track Layla's great. Brilliant. What a riff. But that song has got two halves, hasn't it? It's a song of two halves. You've got the great riff at the beginning, and then it does bloody lose it though, don't you think? Once it gets going, it just goes on and on. And then we get that Jim Gordon piano part comes in. You know, the big lament at the end. Very beautiful. Jim Gordon, he'd come up with it. Jim Gordon then went on to become he was one of the great session drummers, and then went on to become one of the great sort of nutters of the music industry. And I think by the early 80s, he tried to, he killed his mom with an axe. Always a sign of not being quite right. I've always said that is a sign of not quite being right. And he got locked up in prison, and he stayed there till he died only a few years ago. Now, Jim Gordon, I think he wrote that piano part, or did he get it from someone else? Roberta Flack, was it? I'll say that. Anyway, it's not an issue here. Because in 1990, Martin Scorsese, one of the greatest film directors of all time, came back, didn't he? In 1989, actually, he came back with Goodfellas. He reunited with Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci, and brought us Ray Liotta. I can remember going to the pictures, wonder what this new Scorsese film would be like, with that Colour of Money with Tom Cruise. That was all right, yeah, it was. Yeah, but it wasn't bloody Taxi Driver, was it? It wasn't Raging Bull, was it? No, was it Mean Streets, was it? No. And we just sat there, they're driving along, bang, bang, bang in the back, you know, and what's that? Let's go and have a look around, right? There's some half dead body. They stab it, stab like this, and then Ray Liotta slams that down, and we hear bam, 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 and we hear the incredible operatic Italian but jazz tones of Tony Bennett. I think that's not the one I've chosen. It does set up the point that the whole of this film has great uses of tunes. Later on, when Robert De Niro's done this big bloody is it the Lufthansa heist at the airport? And they got so much money, and you can tell he just doesn't really want to give it to his fellow criminals, so he starts killing them one by one. And it goes into this montage where we see all these bodies piling up, and there's bloke shot in his car like that. This one has been hung up in a bloody cold, fridgy van type of thing. You know that scene, and it plays so brilliantly. The second half of Layla. And at this point, I can remember being in the cinema, watching that scene, thinking, this is a classic movie. It's only just come out. And it was. It was a classic movie. So that's what I've got at number 7, is Layla in Goodfellas, right? A couple of years later, we had the great Quentin Tarantino came out. And he sort of redefines the music being used in films, doesn't he? You know, you've got that. Hey, you got all that. Can you think about it? Or the bit where they do. Is it Chuck Berry? You know, when John Travolta does and Uncle Joe would never can tell, and all that. But there's so many brilliant things, uses of songs. But I think the one that is at number one in terms of Quentin Tarantino has to be the terrible misuse of the tune Stuck in the Middle with You by Steelers Wheel, Jerry Rafferty, and accompanies a scene where Michael Madsen, who's a nasty piece of work, tortures a cop in a chair, really just for his own fun, and dances to this song. And it's the mixture of such a chirpy song, and yet the irony of the lyrics that this bloke is stuck in the middle here with this psychopath. And apparently Michael Madsen, when he made that scene, a lot of it was improvised. And like me, you know, he wasn't comfortable dancing to this song. And there's a lot of examples of actors dancing and dancing in a way to a song that makes that scene. In Pulp Fiction, because I might have made a mistake, because of course this is from Reservoir Dogs, not Pulp Fiction, right? That was just an example of another film by Quentin Tarantino, where John Travolta does that incredible, you know, thing, because Travolta is a bloody genius. We'll get on to him in a minute. He crops up later on in this list, right? So Michael Madsen, he does all. It's the way he moves and the way he's just enjoying every minute of it. He chops the guy's ear off and then he picks it up and says, you know, can you hear me? Or whatever it is. He talks into the ear while this very chirpy song just sits there in the background, being played off the radio. So the music's in the scene as well. I mean, if you look at this, Limelight is in the scene. It's part of the drama. Perfect Day isn't, Sound of Silence isn't, Layla isn't, but this one is Stuck in the Middle. Is there a name for that? Diagenic, or is that something you have when you've got diarrhea? Can't remember. Anyway, I'm going to move on there. I think I've done enough on that. Number 6 was Stuck in the Middle of You from Reservoir Dogs. I'd written Pulp Fiction down on my list. That's what put me off. Right. Nicolas Cage. Now, of course, Nicolas Cage is the nephew of the great filmmaker Francis Ford Coppola, another great director. We've got a lot of great directors on this list, but I'm not talking about a Francis Ford Coppola film here. I'm talking about a Nicolas Cage film. He doesn't half make some weird films, you know, and a few years ago, he made a very weird film. It's almost like a heavy metal film called Mandy, and he plays a lumberjack, a chap that chops down trees, and he's got his artistic wife that he loves very much, and then some nutty Satanists move up the road and they kidnap his wife and kill her horrendously. He goes up and then kills them horrendously, and this is all within some sort of surrealistic, dark, twisting, mad scenario of sort of gory hell. Now, this film's a bit stupid, really, I think, but it gets stupider as it gets on. The thing with horror films is, for me, they always get silly. This one's like that. It just gets silly. And it's a good film. But I think what the problem with this film is that the opening sequence, right, is so incredible. It opens up and we see the forest. This is this dark forest, and we're above it. It's one of those films that zooms in like this. We come into the story from above, and it's dark, and we see the trees moving, and we eventually come down into this forest, and we see Nicolas Cage there chopping away at some tree and doing his job. Very simple sequence, but this is accompanied by Starless by King Crimson off the album Red. And that album is dark and red. And this film is dark and red. And it sets up, I mean, no film can really live up to the promise of that opening sequence. It's incredible powerful, it's mournful, and it's frightening, and it's dark, and it's powerful. And it could well be one of the greatest uses of a progressive rock tune in a film, but we have one that will beat this, but that's coming up in a minute. Keep you watching. Don't go anywhere. Right, so we're halfway. Number 5, Starless, from the film Mandy with Nicolas Cage. Can't remember the bloke who directed it. Was it Pino Panatos or something like that? I don't know. Somebody with a strange name that I couldn't remember. Right. Didn't want to I didn't want to include any musicals, any dance routines. You know, they're all amazing. I love it all, right? But here we have a dance routine, and it's by the genius that is John Travolta, and it's from the film Saturday Night Fever. Now, when Saturday Night Fever came out with its soundtrack by the Bee Gees, plus very, numerous other disco artists, right? This film was an X certificate. It was dealing with a lot of sort of troublesome subject matter in the sort of urban, bleakness of New York, I think, where Travolta was like a nobody working in his little shop, but on the night he became king of the dance floor in his white suit. And this film was so successful that they edited it into an A version. That means you could watch it when you were accompanied with an adult, right? And this happened after Grease had come out. Grease came out in 1978. I was 10. I was mad on Grease. I loved it. I was obsessed with it. I had the bloody double album, played all the tracks off it. And then this version of Saturday Night Fever came out. And I went to see it, and without all the sort of X certificate stuff in, it didn't really make sense, and it was really boring. What did I take from this film? Well, John Travolta walked down at the beginning, amazing. I mean, that could be on this list. Well, you can tell by the way I move my walk, I'm a woman's man. I don't have to. He's walking down like that, and he walks past someone, doesn't he? He bumps into someone, and they look round. It's Sylvester Stallone. Or was it Keith Emerson? I want it to be Keith Emerson, but I think it was Sylvester Stallone. It doesn't matter. He's at that point where he's doing Rocky, It's got nothing to do with it. I'm just letting you know who Sylvester Stallone is. But you know, don't you? You don't need to have me say that. So anyway, let's get back onto the subject. That's great. I can remember him in the mirror, and he was putting his little medallion on. And I can remember he had incredibly hairy armpits. Back in 1978, I didn't have hairy armpits at all. And I was readying myself, I think subconsciously, for hairy armpits to sprout. And then seeing the incredible thatch that John Travolta had under each arm, that was quite frightening for a young boy to see. That was a moment I remember. The rest of it's a blur. I can remember him dancing with some girl and spinning around for ages and ages. That was all right. But there was one scene that delivered, right? And it was the bit when he finally gets to go, and he's got his white suit on, and he goes down to the disco, and he does that dance, doesn't he? And what does he dance to? Bloody the Bee Gees' best song ever. The one that is called, because I always get the title of it wrong, You Should Be Dancing. You know the bit? You should be dancing, yeah. Dancing, yeah. Had that incredible riff. It was that keyboard riff I love. I don't know if you remember, a year later, James Bond came out with Moonraker, and they had us chase down the bloody ski slopes. Was it Moonraker or Spy Love Me? Can't remember. And they had a very similar tune. It was like a James Bond tune, but it had that. It had that. They ripped it off here because it was so good. But rather than him pretending to do all that, like Travolta was, James Bond was doing it with the skis. Those two seemingly unrelated scenes I've brought together because they relate in my mind. Now hopefully they'll relate in your mind. John Travolta's a bloody genius, right? Right, he's a great actor. Think of him in Pulp Fiction. Think how bloody good he is in Pulp Fiction. Think how many great actors there are. Think of Samuel L. Jackson doing that speech. But it's John Travolta. It's Travolta that makes that bloody film. He's a great actor, right? Now, not only is he a great actor, he is a brilliant dancer. We know this, right? He's a brilliant dancer, right? Now, I'm not a brilliant dancer. I wish I looked like John Travolta. I wish I could act like John Travolta. And I wish I could dance like John Travolta. But he is also responsible for one of the most impossible vocal parts in the history of music, which is, of course, his vocal on the tune You're the One That I Want from Greece. The rest of it's quite normal. You're the one I want. You're right. You are the one I want. Ooh, ooh, ooh. You're the one I want. You are the one I want. That's all quite normal. But at a certain point, there's a bit where he goes, you don't want to wear. Have you heard it? You don't want to wear. It's like this vocal comes out. It's pitched and everything. It's in the most, I don't know what he's doing. He must have been in the studio, they've got this idea, producer. What do you think to this? And they must have gone, bloody hell, what the hell's that? No one's done this in the history of music. And he can fly a bloody jumbo jet. And his house has got a garage on the side of it for his jumbo jet. And he has an air crew living there. So if he wants to just pop down the shops, you know, just to get, I don't know what John Travolta goes to get, you know, maybe, I don't know, if he'd be dancing, he might be going to get some, like a, I don't know, some sort of leotard thing, you know. So if he needs to get a leotard, he will jump in his plane and go, right? And he can go to London if it wants. Not like us, we could only go to this sort of, we'd go up the road or maybe to the next town. He can go, I'm going to get a leotard from London and let's go there. And then he rings up, say it's John Travolta, have you got a slot, you know, for me? You know, he's just a Scientologist, but he is the nicest Scientologist, isn't he, old Travolta? The amount of comedy I could get if this was a bloody film channel and not a music channel. But anyway, that's at number 4. What have I got at number 3? The greatest use of a prog song ever in any film is the use of Hocus Pocus in this film Baby Driver. Have you ever seen that film? It's bloody brilliant. Very action-packed, lots of car chases. And this kid, the baby driver, he drives a getaway car. And there's a scene where he's in the getaway car and it all goes wrong and they have to shoot their way out. But for this guy to get in the zone, he puts his headphones in and he has to play different tunes. And when he's doing the getaway, he has to play Hocus Pocus by Focus. Right? Now, Hocus Pocus by Focus in this scene then takes over. It's very rare that you get this. Hocus Pocus by Focus becomes the focus of the editing. So there's the focus the band and there's a focus on the editing. The Hocus Pocus is focusing the director in terms of his cuts, camera angles, everything is mirroring this film, this song, it's mirroring it. And you've got you've got things like, it's like, you know, 1 minute it's there's like gunshots, then you get mad yodeling, and all these changes, and the build-ups, it echoes in the film. It's one of the greatest uses of music in a film ever made. Baby Driver, Hocus Pocus, what an incredible film, great film. Right, this would be, at number 2, this would have been my number 1, right? If we go back to the beginning of this era and we look at where music goes from rock and roll, you know, goes from a sort of teeny poppy commercial sound, something that you could dance along like this to becomes the dark, alienating sort of wild-eyed loner on the road to hell music that rock music becomes. And we've mentioned it. Dylan does it to some extent. Sounds of Silence, all that alienation. I don't want to have your life in Los Angeles. You know, I don't want to go and do all the things you want me to do. She's dusted off, but now I want to have sex with Anne Bancroft. And even that won't fill my time until I realise I'm going to settle down. You know, that's the plan with Catherine Ross. I know. But first I'm going to kidnap her from her wedding, but she'll be happy to do it. Anyway, all of that type of thing that emerged in the 1960s, all that angst, all that Easy Rider stuff, you know, Born to be Wild, and all of that, for me, and I'm being serious now, if someone said to me, if you look at rock music, if you look at the music we love, what is the greatest moment, what's the greatest song ever made in the history of music regarding this thing I'm talking about now? Right, it's off the Doors' first album. It's the huge epic that finishes that album, right? And it's called The End. The End is the end of whatever existed before. It's such a powerful tune. The Doors' first album is a statement, you know, but when you get to that last track, And, you know, he metaphorically and literally kills his parents. It is fratricide and patricide in rock music form. It's sort of never been surpassed, the end. It's never been surpassed. And I can remember when I was playing with Robert Plant, and I managed to get this far without mentioning him. But, you know, I once mentioned this song to him, and I said, what do you think to that? And he goes, well, it's the greatest song ever made. Now, whether he just said that, you know, for conversation, and we had a good conversation, I don't know. But I think he's right. It's such an incredible piece of music. And this idea of the son killing his father, and the sort of the son killing his mother, and the sort of almost like Greek mythological sort of Freudian stuff that is wound into that. It's very, very powerful. It's only enhanced more at the end of the incredible Apocalypse Now.
This is the end, beautiful friend.
Where Martin Sheen, who's been sent to kill Marlon Brando, right? He wants to kill him, but he's also respects him, and the journey has taken him to a place where he doesn't know the meaning of things. He's lost. And that whole sequence, which was accompanied by the sacrifice of a cow, which you see for real. They killed a real cow. Now, I don't think Francis Ford Coppola was like there saying, hey guys, I think we've got to kill a cow. It ain't going to work unless we kill a cow. I mean, that's extreme. I mean, I've done some silly bloody things on my channel, haven't I? But if I came in and thought, you know, if I brought some animal in here like this, I couldn't do a cow, it'd be too small. Maybe a small dog. You know, if I brought a small dog in and bloody chopped him in half with that you'd be reporting me. So can't do stuff like that, Andy. I thought it'd be really good. You know, it's like my version of Apocalypse Now. What you on about? You're a sicko. You know, you'd all hate me if I did that. They do it in this. It's full on Marlon Brando in the dark, his big bald head coming in and out, you know. Dennis Hopper off his bloody heads in real life and in the film. And then Martin Sheen coming out of the water like that, or the bloody lightning flashes having to look around over the water. Comes in, he's like that all the time. You know, you got the end just building and building and building and building. It's the most powerful bloody use of a rock song in any film, isn't it? So what could be better than that? Because I've got it at number one. Right. A couple of nights ago, I decided to watch the film 28 Years. It's the follow-up to 28 Days, and then you got 28 Weeks. This is 28 Years. It's a zombie film, right? It's a good film, actually. And what I said about horror films, this one's not like that. It does deliver. The final sequence delivers. After some very gory scenes. I mean, don't watch this if you got, you know, don't like gore. And don't watch Mandy either, but definitely don't watch 28 Years Later if you don't like the old gore, because there's a lot of bloody gore in this film. Now, all the way in this film, the sort of, I suppose, the good guy, which is this weird doctor who represents sort of the rational view of the world, and he's up against this bloke who believes he's the son of Satan, and is he a con man or isn't he? And this sort of this moral tug of war happens, almost like when chaos ensues, how do human beings bolster up morality? Where do they draw that from? From the rational real world or from the superstitious sort of supernatural world? That's the sort of themes. I haven't really given it that much thought. I'm doing it now as I speak to you. This doctor who has created a sort of memorial to the dead, this huge bone temple, which is quite striking and very gothy. He gets approached by this bloke who thinks he is he thinks he's Satan. He thinks it's his dad. When he finds out he's not his dad, he realises his followers are going to be a bit upset. I'm spoiling all this for you. I'll have to put spoiler alert at the beginning of this. They were really upset. And so Ralph Fiennes, who plays the doctor, he says, okay, I'll pretend to be Satan. But bloody does he pretend to be Satan. Now, all the way to the film, he's really been enjoying, I think it's Rio by Duran Duran. And he's been training one of the zombies to not be a zombie anymore. This big, massive bloke who looks like my friend Richard Boxley. He's appeared on the channel a few times. The I'll put a picture of him in. He's done various things on here over the years. And Richard, he just remember this big, alpha zombie that he was trying to train up. He reminded my friend Richard, but this zombie has got really huge private parts. I don't really think I could look Richard in the eye now. He's not coming on the channel again. But then I read it was prosthetic, and that did, cheered me up a little bit once I found that fact out. So this is a film, it's got a lot of stuff in it. Anyway, he decides to create this big pyrotechnical display to prove he's Satan. He sets up a PA, I don't know where he gets it from, but it's a bloody good PA. Sets up this PA in the Bone Temple, and then Ralph Fiennes comes out dressed like Satan, and he plays The Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden. And it starts off with the bloody Vincent Price is it Vincent Price? The introduction, all that bit. I think they grab. I don't know. It starts off with that, and then he comes out with the bloody black eyes, and he's doing fire, and he basically he mimes to Number of the Beast, and he sings. He dances. He does this dance for it. This is Ralph Fiennes, this bloke, old bloke. This is incredible.
666, the number of the beast.
Ralph Fiennes delivers. It's one of the most incredible sequences I've ever seen. I just thought it was amazing. And for the first time in ages, I was watching a horror film and going, this ending is worthy of a bloody ending. I don't feel like it's petering out or getting so stupid that I'm starting to laugh because it's silly. This is what I want. And because it's ridiculous, but done so well, it's genuinely infernal. It's genuinely infernal. And I just thought, what a bloody masterstroke. And for me, for them to go back to bloody Iron Maiden, that album's amazing. Iron Maiden's amazing. Heavy metal's amazing. Come on. This is what it's about. Get away from all your namby-pamby bloody critics love it, all that rubbish. This is what it's about. The real deal, the real great music of the 20th century, the real music that can bloody fulfill what you want is bloody hocus pocus, or it's bloody Iron Maiden, or it's Rush, or what all this stuff is here. These people know it. Right, the mainstream don't know it, but Danny Boyle, whoever it is that decided to put that in that film, he knows it. They know it. Iron Maiden's a bloody real deal. It's a song about Satan. It's a song about Satan, and it deserves the respect of getting bloody Ray Fiennes in to do it, to show the rest of the world how bloody brilliant that song is. End of the video, finished. That's it, done. No more. Like, subscribe, join my bloody Patreon, free member if you're a stingy bastard, paid member if you're a nice one. Become a member here, get extra content here as well. Put some money in my tip jar, and also down below, put some money in the Sea of Tranquility fund. That's really important. If you don't know what that's about, go and search here, Andy Edwards, Sea of Tranquility, Pete Pardo fund. Search it now, go and watch that. My job here is done. I'm signing off. That was a good one. I feel that was a good video. What do you think to that? Was that good? Oh, I thought it was quite good. Yeah, what about you? Do you think that was good? Yeah, I felt I've delivered today. I don't always have that at the end of a video, but I feel here, I think I have really done a good video here. I think that was some virtuoso YouTubing. I think I deserve a round of applause from you all. Yeah, thank you very much. I know that no script. Okay.
But what does it mean?